this morning, and then late morning, then I come back home, and then I go back in the afternoon. But that's only 3 days a week.
3 days a week. And what do you do on your days off?
With my grandchildren.
Oh, perfect. You see.
Yeah, absolutely love it.
And the idea of retirement makes you feel what?
Horror.
Really?
Absolute horror. Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. All right.
I couldn't even entertain it.
You sure you don't want to comment about Torben and Dean?
Not really. Another day.
Going back to my hack days of asking people stuff, I was useless as one of those hacks. I got embarrassed. Do you want to talk about? No, not really. Okay, bye. Thank you very much, Doreen. 03456060973. We're talking about retirement. Do you want to retire? If you do want to retire, let me know. Are you somebody who is working beyond the so-called retirement age? Are you over 66 and you're still working? And if so, how? And I'd love to hear from employers as well. Do you actively encourage people over the retirement age to carry on? Or do you say, sorry, shelf life over, ta-ta? Morning in, no intention of retiring, says Mark in Kent. I'm a you say self-unemployed, I think you mean employed. I'm a self-employed carpenter, and I intend to be hanging doors, fitting shelves to my last breath. It keeps the body and brain alive. Morning Ian, says his texter here. Clint Eastwood is directing a film at the moment, and he is 93. It is just amazing. David is in Hastings. What's your view and story, David?
So I've got a couple of stories. So I'm 68.
Good.
I'm now older than all of my male relatives, uncles, my father. They all died before this. Most of them worked in a job where you retired at 60.
What sort of jobs was those?
Hospital porter, local sauce factory, a laundry, and
Manual.
And when they went in their door, the next time they came out was in a box.
Really?
They literally went home. But here's the big story for me. When I was an apprentice back in the 70s, I worked for the railway at Wembley Stonebridge Park.
Yeah.
And there was a guy there called Bert who used to check. There's massive sidings there where all the carriages parked for servicing.
Yes.
And there was a guy there called Bert who used to walk up and down every day, making sure the rails hadn't come loose, knocking the wedges back in with a long hammer. He used to walk by and just whack them in.
Brilliant.
There were these little huts all around, and he would stop there. And in the hut, you'd think they looked like little toilets, but they weren't. There'd be someone in there with a kettle, reading the paper, making a cup of tea. He'd stop, chat with his mate, keep walking. Then someone one day in management said, "How old is Bert?" And so here's the thing here. They dug into it and found out he was 90.
I think that deserves another stand-up, lads, doesn't it?
No, but there's a sad bit to it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, there's a sad bit to it. So he lived in a bedsit in Wilston.
Yeah.
And what happened was, they had a heart attack when they found out, oh my God, we can't have a 90-year-old working for us.
Because
he's too old. And
obviously not. But yeah, go on.
But either way, management retired him, and he was dead within a month.
Oh dear. I know.
There's no reason to assume. He came to work, he walked 6 miles a day, every day.
Yeah.
There's no reason to assume that he wouldn't have kept going longer, but once they took away his will to live, he hadn't got a reason to see his mates anymore, he wasn't coming for a cup of tea, wasn't reading a free newspaper.
Yeah. No, some people, we need, I don't know what the word is, but we need routine, don't we? I remember I worked in the AA building in Basingstoke, and we were like bottom floor, we were the lowest of the low, and there was an old guy in there whose name was Ernie, and he must have been in his 70s, and I don't know what, I have no idea what he did, but he was like kept on because, well, it's Ernie, and he's always been there. And every day the women would come in with their big boiling tea urn, can't think of anything else, and every morning they'd say, "Tea urn," to Ernie, and everyone would start laughing, and it just made his day, every day. For 45 years they came in and went, "Tea urn," and he went, "Yes please," and then we carry on. We need it, don't we? That's a lovely story, David. Thank you very much for sharing it with us. It's quite a Tragic end, to be honest. I know. It's very difficult, isn't it? Are you still working over your retirement age? And I'm also determined to find somebody who actually prefers it not working. Because in the olden days, everyone hated doing their jobs because they were just either factory repetitive jobs. Thankfully, they've gone away. There are still many like that. But there are lots and lots of jobs that people do now that they want to continue with because they stimulate you, and that's what it's about. It's about stimulating the brain. What do you do? Oh, I do Sudoku over. Whatever floats your boat, whatever keeps you mentally alert, go for it. So if anyone's out there and wants to tell me about the beauty of retirement and what you do with it, because I think many people are quite scared about it, and that's why they keep on working. We're talking about this because the celebrity chef Rick Stein says companies should not push older people out of the workplace. He employs lots of people in their 60s and 70s in his restaurants, and he says early retirement contributed to his father's mental health problems and sad death. 0345 6060 973. Are you retired? How is it going? Are you working because you're scared of being retired, or do you want to just keep working forever? The phrase, how old is Bert, will be in my head for the rest of the day. 29 minutes past 5. Let me tell you what else is happening in terms of front pages. We'll start with our own. lbc.co.uk website. Prince William knew making plea for permanent peace in Gaza would cause controversy, but felt it had no choice. As always with the royal family, he didn't pick one side or the other. He was very even-handed. I'm not sure whether Prince William wading into the Gaza conflict is really going to do any good, or indeed any good for the royal family. Daily Mail has taken quite a dim view of it here. Richard Kay, who has got fairly decent contacts within the royal family. He's well-intentioned, William, but I fear he's heading for dangerous and uncharted waters, and I think he might be right. Daily Mirror, shattered tears for Strictly dancer Robin Windsor after his shock death at the age of 44. They've also got a story suggesting Vladimir Putin is plotting to murder. Daily Mail, William, too many have died in Gaza conflict. The Guardian, Labour leader faces threat of revolt over Gaza despite call for ceasefire. This is the SNP-led motion about a immediate ceasefire they want. And the Labour Party, as we know, has tied themselves up in knots about this. They seem to have changed their stance with the wording of what they feel a little bit more now. The Sun has this great exclusive. British nuclear sub launch fails. The second nuclear test which has failed, although we're told that the context is it's not as serious as people first thought, but a bit embarrassing when you've got the Secretary of State for Defence on the submarine, as Grant Shapps was, and this thing, like a damp firework, goes... what else can I tell you? Daily Star, greedy black hole eats the universe. Actually, that's quite a sensible story about this black hole that they've discovered. The figures are just 500 trillion times brighter than the sun. It's been alive for 2 billion years. I just can't compute. And the Independent, William wades in. Too many have been killed in Gaza. It's 5:30. The news headlines. Thomas Watts.
Labour has, for the first time, called for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza. The party is trying to head off a rebellion against Sir Keir Starmer in a key Commons vote on the issue. The Ministry of Defence has confirmed an anomaly occurred during a test of a Trident missile from a submarine. It's understood it crashed into the sea off the coast of Florida at the end of last month. Hospitals in England will begin to introduce Martha's Rule, a new escalation process, from April. It's designed to give patients and families access to a second opinion if they're worried about a condition worsening. LBC weather, wet and windy conditions moving across the UK, becoming drier and brighter from the north and west through the day, a high of 14 degrees.
LBC.
The plant near the reception desk at Axel's Autocare is loving life. That's because Barclaycard covers 50% of Axel's card reader rental fees for the whole year. So he can give 100% to other parts of his business, starting with a proper watering can. What's good for small business is good for everyone. Barclaycard Payments.
50% of card reader rental fees until 31st of December 2024 and select products apply by 30th of April. Application approval depends on financial circumstances and borrowing history. T's and C's apply.
Like to mix up your lunch? Try a McDonald's Big Flavour Wrap. Get a kick with spicy veggie. Go big and bold with barbecue and bacon. Creamy with Caesar and bacon. Or go sweet with today's $1.99 wrap of the day, the sweet chili chicken one. Served from 11 a.m. Price may vary. Wrap of the day discount not available on delivery orders. Subject to availability.
Next stop will be London.
I don't believe it.
What were you looking at?
The woman over there reading that book.
What about her?
What she's reading, it's indecent.
What's it called? I've probably read it.
You haven't. Have you?
See every detail, no matter how small. Choose from over 1,000 Boots and designer glasses and get your second pair half price. Book an eye test at Boots Opticians today and see what's possible. Includes prescription glasses and sunglasses. Cheapest pair half price. T's and C's apply.
For delicious, award-winning jerky and biltong, visit RagingBullSnacks.com and enjoy 15% off your first order.
Raging Bull Snacks, made without compromise.
Amazing deals on package holidays. Pay now.
I've got tickets to that sold-out show. Message now.
Your subscription's been suspended. Update your payment details.
Final warning. To receive your package, pay the fee immediately.
Mum, I've had an accident. Please send money.
There's been suspicious activity on your bank account, and I need a few personal details.
Fraud is getting more sophisticated. Always stop, think, and check. Stay ahead of scams at gov.uk/stopthinkfraud.
Whoa! Vauxhall are having a special event from the 14th to the 29th of February with an extra £500 saving on petrol cars.
Really? What about electric?
Wow! An extra £2,000 allowance on electric cars with 4.9% APR representative.
Including new Corsa?
Yes.
Astra?
Yes.
Mocha?
Yes.
Hey, where are you going?
Vauxhall retailer. See ya. Personal contract purchase, electric vehicles only. T&C subject to status and availability. 18 plus. The Atlantis Financial Services. At end of agreement, there are 3 options: part exchange, pay optional final payment to own vehicle, or return vehicle.
Ian Payne on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Coming up to 25 minutes to 6, Nick Ferrari will be here at 7 o'clock, of course, with the Wednesday breakfast. He'll be joined by the Health Secretary today, Victoria Atkins, as NHS leaders announce Martha's Rule. I'll be giving my opinion on that between 6 and 7 o'clock. I don't think it's a good idea, personally. Giving patients the right to obtain a second opinion by law about their care, where the instincts of the family apparently are more important than somebody who's studied anatomy for 8 or 9 years. Just saying. Right, we think we have now discovered Britain's oldest forklift truck driver. Her name is June. She's from Harlow in Essex. She rang us a few moments ago. Certainly the oldest woman still driving a forklift truck. Unless you know better. And if you do, tell me. 0345 6060 973. Why are you going on about forklift truck drivers, Ian? Because Rick Stein, the celebrity chef, has said that companies shouldn't push older people out of the workplace. He says early retirement contributed to his father's mental health problems. His father took his own life by jumping off a cliff in near the family's holiday home in Cornwall in 1965. He'd shortly had to leave his role as managing director of the Distillers Company. Rick Stein told the Saga magazine, "My industry focuses on younger people," it's the restaurant industry, which is great, but older people often bring a nice balance. He revealed he employs people in their 60s and 70s, as he believes early retirement contributed to his father's mental health problems. So I think we found Britain's oldest forklift truck driver. Let's try and find Britain's oldest waiter or bar staff. How long can you go on for? If you're going to be on your feet all the time, I don't, even now, I mean, what am I, early 61, I couldn't stand on my feet all day. My back would just give in and seize up. I need to sit down. So I would imagine it's the same for lots of people. So let's go. Let's see if we can unearth some more record breakers among Britain's grey population. Jackie, another first-time caller in Dagenham. What's your story? Good morning.
Good morning. Well, I retired when I was 65, and I'm having the best time of my life. I walk in the morning for 4 miles.
How long?
I go swimming 4 miles.
4 miles, right.
I go swimming
Right.
at the Eagle Swimming Bar, which is fantastic.
Okay, big shout out. Yeah.
I I meet friends. And I'm now walking now to the swimming with my friend.
With your friend, yeah. Special friend?
We love it. Yeah, we swim together. And you meet people. When I feel that it was the best thing I ever done, because you're a long time dead, so you might as well enjoy yourself while you can. I look after my son, who's 96, but I love it. My job was hard.
What did you do for work, Jackie? What was your job?
I was a carer.
Right, well you still are in a way, aren't you?
I like it. I like it. My mum.
Right. I'll tell you what you're doing that's so good and beneficial is you are stimulating your body and therefore your mind, because you're taking exercise and you know you're getting the heart pumping, and it's so important, even if it's only in a small way. What's your swim stroke of choice, Jackie?
Breaststroke.
Breaststroke. Okay. So you're not a butterflyer.
No. Not that clever.
That's too much. That's too much.
You meet so many people.
Do you?
And tomorrow we're all going out for a meal.
Who?
The people I've met there. And I just love it.
So,
and I think more people should retire. Because it's lovely.
Is it? Tell me, I'm afraid of retiring. Tell me why I shouldn't be.
Oh, because you don't have enough time in the day when you retire.
Really?
And you can relax.
Yeah.
Yes, you don't. I don't have enough time in the day. I've got a dog who I walk every morning and every night.
Yeah.
I roughly walk 10 miles a day.
Wow.
And I just love it.
Right.
And
Brilliant.
I think other people should try it.
All right, and just tell me about the meal tomorrow. Where are you going and how many of you are there? Because we need to shout out the restaurant.
We're going to Pipe Major.
Pipe Major in Dagenham.
Which is fantastic. And there's 6 of us.
6 of you. All girls?
All girls. All oldies.
And what would be the main conversation subject? Men?
Oh, definitely not. Off the menu.
Brilliant.
Although I've been married for 47 years,
Yeah.
he's a great one.
Is he? Good. He's a keeper. All right, Jackie, brilliant. I love this subject. This is a fantastic subject. It's positive, you see. Right, so we've got some people, I think, who are breaking records here. So I think we found the oldest fork truck lift driver in the country. She's 75. Duncan in Eastbourne says, I'm still working as a driving instructor at the age of 88. Now, I don't know if I'd get in a car with an 88-year-old driving instructor, would you? I don't know. Anyone else over 88 who's a driving instructor? Anyone over the age of 75 who's a forklift truck driver? Are you a pharmacist? Teresa says, our pharmacist is 84 and still working. Who should we go to? Roberta in Stamford Hill. Good morning.
Good morning, Ian. Lovely show.
Good.
Great stuff.
Good.
It's good to hear that. I retired in March of last year from a local authority. I got absolutely, I thought it was going to be great, and I got absolutely bored to death.
I'm like that.
I'm now starting a new job on the 1st of March at a different local authority after I've been at one for the last 30 years.
Ah, right, okay. So tell me what you do. You're 65. What do you do for a living in the local authority?
Enforcement manager at a local authority in central London, as I was.
I don't know what that means. What's an enforcement?
Senior enforcement officer at another local authority in East London.
Sorry to be thick, but what is an enforcement officer in English?
Basically, we deal with people who dump rubbish.
Gotcha. Okay. And are you okay to sort of be on your feet all day?
Yeah, I used to walk miles every single day around the local authority I used to work in. Kept me fit. A bit like Doreen, I started skating at a young age in London. A very small ice rink in the Sodell Centre in Islington.
Right.
Played ice hockey. So
You've got to learn ice skating at a young age, don't you? How old were you when you first learned?
I was 12.
That's
where I met my current wife, my only wife.
Right, good. Well, I hope so. Well, yeah, I started ice skating at 38, and it's not a good idea because the ice. They never tell you this, but the ice is so hard when you fall over. It is so hard when you fall over. It's really dangerous, actually, I think.
It can be, I agree. I can agree with that. I've had a few injuries playing ice hockey, as you can imagine. But, yeah.
So the thing I'm most interested in, so Roberto's from Stamford Hill. He retired last year. He was an enforcement officer who basically stops people tipping rubbish, etc., for a local council. Got so bored after he retired, went back to job on with another council as enforcement officer. Tell me how easy or difficult it was to get a new job at your age.
I found it very easy in as much as my experience was what they required. There's a brand new team that's being set up. I won't say where.
No,
but,
that's fine.
The experience is what got me the job that I'm now going to start on the 1st of March.
Congratulations.
It's the knowledge over the years that you've built up to be able to teach new people who are coming into the job for the first time. Some not, of course, some are already experienced.
Well, I am heartened by the fact that your council is broad-minded enough to think about you as just another candidate rather than someone past it.
Yeah, thank you.
It's brilliant.
I appreciate that. I was hopeful. It was no guarantees. Obviously, there were a lot.
Are they giving you a contract or as a fixed term, or are you just?
No, it's not fixed term. No, it's ongoing.
Wow.
On a permanent basis.
Brilliant. And what I'd really like to know is, in your years of being an enforcement officer, stopping people fly tipping, what's the worst bit of rubbish tipping you've ever seen or encountered, and what did you do about it?
It was asbestos, which was, at the time, a lot of people didn't take a great deal of notice. I'm going back many years now. But the people who dumped the asbestos eventually got a very, very, very heavy fine. It's an unlimited fine if you get caught. Clearly, they tend to issue, if it's bulk rubbish of some kind, up to £1,000. These people either have the option of paying the fine or 6 months imprisonment.
You're a top man, Roberto, and I'm really delighted that you've called us. So there we are. This is an.
I enjoyed the show, as I said, and I listen to you every morning, man. I'm taking the wife to work for the time being.
Nice one.
First of March every day. So have a great day, and to all your listeners, have a lovely day out there.
Thank you. I feel like standing up and applauding every 5 minutes, taking over my job. Yeah, probably. I'll take over his. I'd be useless with fly tippers. Stop that. No. All right. It's 5:45. Let's get some early travel news with Joanne Webb.
Thanks, Ian. It's very busy on the Hertfordshire stretch of the M25, anti-clockwise from junction 25 at the A10 to 24 at Potters Bar, following the overnight roadworks, where only one lane was open. In the last few moments, they've just lifted all the cones, so everything's back open, but it's still very slow. There are restrictions on the M48, Severn Bridge, both ways because of the strong winds. In Cheshire, it's very busy on the M6 southbound to junction 18 at Holmes Chapel because of the roadworks. In Shropshire, the A53 is closed in both directions between Shawbury and Astley. That's all down to an accident. And in Aberdeenshire, the A96 is closed both ways at Kintore because investigation works are taking place. And in London, the A12 remains closed northbound at Stratford.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
Labour wants to move on in the policies of fox hunting.
It's a perceived class war. The drag hounds that are in existence now, they have been trained to trace the anti-bag. Drag hunting is as much of a smoke screen as the idea that it's a class war.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Back this morning from 7.
With EDF, here to help cut cash and carbon for everyone.
Listen on your radio and on Globe.
Land management schemes, or ELMS. Mr. Siak gave an exclusive interview to Farming Today. I asked him about coming to speak to farmers, some of whom are protesting, who say they're not being heard. How did he feel about them?
The first thing is to acknowledge, A, that it's been a tough time for farming over the past few years in the global environment, but also to recognise the incredible work they do for our country. I mean, they take their responsibility as stewards of our landscape incredibly seriously. They do it because they love it, and they're incredibly important to our food production. And food security is an important topic. And then the next thing is to stick to a plan which is supporting farmers, and that's about making sure they get the financial support they need, and made some announcements at the conference today which will put more money in farmers' pockets to support them to increase food production and productivity. Secondly, it's to ensure fairness in the supply chain, and we'll be laying regulations, for example, in the dairy sector following our review, and that's something that we'll be following up pigs and poultry and eggs, because transparency and fairness in supply chains is important. Farmers should be paid fairly for what they do, and it's hard work. And then lastly, it's about a new approach to trade deals, making sure that we support farmers, open up new markets for them, but also make sure that they're not unfairly undercut at home. And that approach has been, I think, welcome that I've changed going forward as well.
The new grant offers are opening with more than £400 million, you say, to ensure that you maintain the farming budget at £2.4 billion a year. But this isn't new money, this is just old money with a new label, isn't it? Helping people access that money. So is that money that hasn't been spent on else so far? Because there has been a disappointing take-up, hasn't there?
Well, I think actually around half of all farmers now are in the new schemes.
But half aren't.
To answer your question about the money, it's really important to me to deliver on our commitment and stick to our plan. We said that we would maintain £2.4 billion every year of this Parliament going to our farmers, and I want to make sure that we completely and utterly stick to that. Every penny of that needs to find its way to our farmers, and that's what the announcements today will ensure. A doubling of the management payment increase, coming on the back of a 10% increase in payment rates that the Secretary of State announced earlier this year, and of course the new productivity grants that you mentioned, the biggest ever to support farmers when they buy new equipment to increase productivity, rooftop solar and the other things.
You talk about food security, and it's something that Lynette Batters, the president of the MFU, outgoing president, is very keen to talk about. You know, backing farmers on food security means also talking about imports, doesn't it? And so far, food has not been recognised as a public good. Are you going to make sure that food production is actually put into the equation as a public good?
Yes, in a simple word, because I think, Anna, when we last were together, you had come to Downing Street for our Farm to Fork Summit to focus on food production and food security. The first time anyone's ever done something like that at Downing Street. I said I would do that if I became Prime Minister. We delivered on it. And what we're announcing now is a brand new food security index, something that the NFU have in particular have called for. And not only are we going to do that index, we're going to do it annually, and it's going to be statutory, and the Farm to Fork Summit that you and I were speaking at last year is going to also be an annual event.
I've just got, you say annually, but you know, you might not be in power in a year's time, so is that going to be written into law so that it will be there?
Yes, it will be statutory. That's something that, to give farmers the reassurance that we really mean this and we're committed to it, that's going to be an annual food security index, which will become a statutory binding obligation, and we'll make sure that we do the Farm to Fork Summit annually as well. Plus the grants today just demonstrate that we're really focused on supporting farmers. But all of this, take a step back, actually. First thing to do is to recognise that the primary purpose of farming is food production, and also to recognise that we live in a more volatile international environment, and increasing food security is something that all of us want to see happen. So that's my view. We've got a clear plan that's going to deliver that.
The Prime Minister there, well, he went on to address the conference delegates, and he took questions from Lynette Batters. She pressed him on setting core standards for imported food in trade deals, domestic food security, and funding for farmers to store floodwater. She also confronted Mr Sunak with a new figure, £4.5 billion, that the NFU believes farmers in England and Wales need. That's nearly double the amount they receive now.
I just want to touch briefly on the budget, because I made the point in my speech. I've worked with 4 prime ministers in 6 years, three in 12 months, and it's fair to say you've how should I put it? You've all been very different. We commissioned some work because on the back of COVID and on the back of the desperate situation in Ukraine, where we saw the price of wholesale gas go to 600% higher at one point, a lot of that inflation is now baked in. And so we got some independent analysis to really look at the budget, how much money effectively is going to be needed to deliver all of this. And that figure for England and Wales that's been quoted to us is 4.5 billion. And so I know it's putting you on the spot a bit, and some massive announcements today, but a manifesto commitment.
Good thing the Chancellor's not here, and Steve and I can take her.
It's going to cost more money. That's the point.
I think you'll understand. I can't get into the numbers of future budgets and things, but I absolutely want to deliver to the penny on what we committed to you, which is that all of the 2.4 billion for every year in this Parliament will come to you.
Afterwards, our reporter Joe Pesey asked delegates what they thought about the Prime Minister's contribution.
So I'm Sophia Ash, I'm a farm worker in Gloucestershire, and it was really interesting to hear what Mr Sunak had to say, with obviously bearing in mind the upcoming elections. It sounds like they have agriculture at their heart.
What's important to you? What do you want to see from the government?
Well, the good thing was Mr Sunak was talking about food security. I would say that's number one, is how we can ensure that farmers can do their job whilst protecting the environment, but persuading farmers to actually continue producing food rather than setting everything aside to environmental schemes.
I'm James Scott, I'm a dairy farmer from Cheshire, and Rishi Sunak's talk, it was quite positive. It was nice to hear that there's going to be more funding towards the grants, and not only that just sort of benefit the large farmers, but also benefit small farmers like myself.
Ben Chilman, beef, sheep, arable and free-range egg producer on the Welsh-English border. Yeah, it was pleasing to hear that there'd be more support for robotics and an acknowledgement of food production.
My name is John Watt, and I'm a farmer from Suffolk. Perhaps a little bit light on manifesto commitments. You know, he talks about the 2.4 billion pounds for funding. It'd be nice to see that ring-fenced manifesto committed to by all the political parties, so we can be confident in our farming future going forwards.
Farmers here at the NFU conference in Birmingham. Well, later I raised the question of funding with President Minette Batters. I put it to her that the figure of £4.5 billion they're asking for was unrealistic when there are so many other calls on government spending.
Well, we're talking obviously about England, Wales. I think what it does show is the huge cost of delivering for these legislated targets. You know, regulation comes at a price. Now, whether we get the 4.5 billion, as you say, you know, with the national debt where it is, the cost of living crisis, all sorts of problems in people's daily lives. But I think it is a fair barometer that this comes at, you know, at a price, and there is going to have to be a budget that delivers on it. We've had the Lib Dems come out and say, you know, we're going to give another £1 billion. So I'm sure there'll be.
Brilliant. Well, Scott, that's amazing. And do you make any money out? And we're all standing up.
Well, I do.
Do you make any? Oh dear, it's like the Chris Moyle show. Are you making money out of this, or is it just a hobby?
Last year I had the idea of singing around. I've got an amplifier and backing tracks, and I had a go at singing in care homes, and it's worked out quite well.
Really?
Do an hour's set, and about 25 songs, and it's a bit hard on the knees, then there's the one position for an hour, but...
Well, this has been one of the best phone-in hours I've done for ages, and well done to you. We'll find there's still life in the old dogs yet, if I can put it that way without being too rude. Now to South Africa and to Cape Town, and... Sorry, my screen's gone black. Can you tell me who what the lady's name is I'm about to speak to? Patricia, sorry about that. Techno problems. You're 73 and you like being retired.
I do, Ian, yeah. I'm actually in a place called Knysna with a silent K. It's about 500 kilometres from Cape Town. And I was quite a workaholic, so people that know me, they say, oh, what's on earth are you going to do? What do you do? And I just say, as little as possible.
As little as possible. Give me a day in the life of Patricia, 500 kilometres away from Cape Town, please.
Okay. I get up at 5:45. This is South Africa, by the way.
Yes.
Okay.
You're a little ahead.
I go for a jog at 6 o'clock, yeah. Constantly.
You go for a jog?
LBC. Yes, of course.
How far do you go?
Oh, it's not far. 4 kilometres, maybe.
Good girl.
It's not far. It's,
right.
It's more... In fact, people walk by fast.
Listen, I did a 10k run in Portsmouth, and I was overtaken by someone running backwards and a woman who was in her 80s. So don't feel ashamed of that.
Yeah. I started jogging in 1970. I was 19. I started jogging. I think I was the first jogger here. So I'm very active, but then I sunbathe, of course.
Yeah. Do you? Right.
And then I go for a coffee, and I'm constantly talking to people in shops and at the coffee shop. And a bit like you, by the time I get home, I'm quite happy to watch the TV, watch a good film on the television.
Oh, God, I love
go to bed very early.
Absolutely.
What films have you like, by the way? Yeah?
Oh, do you? Are you watching Kin on the iPlayer yet?
No, I know about it because of you. I don't have things like iPlayer.
You don't have the iPlayer?
No.
You will have the iPlayer would be...
Do you have the iPlayer?
You won't get it in South Africa? No, they do not have it in South Africa? Oh, okay, fair enough.
This I'm in Belgium, I'm in Antwerp, so I'm not quite sure. But I did see, I think it was on, was it BBC Two? Or maybe it was one of the Belgium.
I don't know if it was on the BBC. It was on the iPlayer. The series is going on. The third episode of Series 2 was last night. If you can get hold of it, it's just an absolute... If you like the stuff that I like, you will absolutely adore it. It's wonderful. Listen, I've got to go, Patricia. It's been brilliant to speak to you. Have a lovely day, as always. Thank you, Patricia. And finally, do we do Dave in Portsmouth? No, let me read out some of these things. So amazing, really. There's you can't make rules, can you? This is the point. You can't make rules for everyone. So the 75-year-old who, the oldest forklift truck driver we've discovered, 88-year-old driving instructor, 74-year-old cabin crew, 82-year-old HGV driver. Fiona says, I'm a self-employed hairdresser and work full-time. I've got no intention of retiring and hope to still be hairdressing a few days a week when I'm at least 75, if not older. Works keeps me sane. And Fenner, morning Fenner, I have a few years to go before I retire, which I don't look forward to. I firmly believe that Rick Stein is right. I also understand that B&Q has an employment policy